Hey guys, in this episode we are going to build Okay, so in this episode we are going to build In this episode we are going to build the last part of the outer shell of the Franken hive, namely the lid, because as you have seen in the previous episodes, we have built the body of the hive, and now a lid comes on top to protect our precious bees from rain and snow and whatnot. When I mentioned last time that I was out of lumber and had to reclaim some pallet wood, strips of pallet wood weeks ago, that has been drying. So it has been drying ever since, about 2 to 3 weeks now. These should be okay. These are the strips I'm going to use to build the lid of the hive. I hope you're excited. Okay, so this was the initial plan, that is to put back the original lid onto the chest. However, I noticed that it would be very difficult to rainproof and stormproof the lid because moisture could just seep in through these seams, even if rain comes from the sides, or even bug-proofing it would prove quite difficult. So I figured that I would need some kind of a protection sheet here as well as here. This could be sheet metal, or if you can remember, I have those steel strips. So adding just a steel strip here that overhangs this seam right here, as well as on the other side, could help. However, I would still have issues with the hinges, because you can imagine that the lid goes across like that, and wherever I install the hinges, for example here, I would still have to protect that side of the box from rain and inclement weather. So what I thought in the end is an entirely different approach. Let me just erase this. So we do away with the original lid. We don't need the hinges. We don't need any steel strips that would come here. But this new plan is to cover the whole opening in one go. So in this new concept we have a lid that overhangs the rim of the whole chest itself. So it would be much easier to make this rainproof, since you can imagine that there would be no way of moisture or water entering the inside of the hive. And in my opinion, bug-proofing it would also be a bit easier. Let me draw it nicely because I don't like it. Much better. So this is the new plan. I lost count, but it might be plan D or E or F, or let's call it plan F for Feri-Tales. So this was the initial concept, to return the lid to its original place, and here I had the problem of not being able to fully rainproof this, hence I would need to add these steel strips here all along the edge. So there would be 1 centimeter of awning, if you will, to rainproof the whole thing. And on the front side, or I should say the back side, when it opens, it would cause no problems. But at the front side of the hive, where the hinge will be, it would actually interfere with the hinge mechanism itself, and I would not be able to open up the top of the hive. What's the point of rainproofing a hive if you cannot open it yourself? So in the end I should just simplify this, right? I made this miter sled last year because I got fed up of not being able to cut perpendicularly across my planks. So this is basically 3 pieces of wood glued up in 90 degrees. So this is more or less square. Yeah, this is quite square. And this allows me to just place my workpiece here, and every cut will be roughly 90 degrees. And this cost me nothing. It's just a piece of junk, 3 pieces of junk, and now they are 1 piece of precious junk. So we will also need our fence, which comes right here, and we'll have to adjust this so that it takes off just a hair at a time. The reason behind that is that my router is really not powerful, so it's just 1200 watts, which is a weak machine. Still, it has to operate with this large diameter router bit. It also has to spin relatively slowly, so it won't have enough power to grab in one go. Industrial machines can use this just in one pass, and you put the bit in, you push the plank along, and in one pass you're done. But this machine will do it millimeter by millimeter in 10 passes or so. We will have to adjust our fence so that it's just shaving tiny fractions at a time. Oh, if anyone is trying to build these at home, these homemade table machines, I do not recommend it. So please do not do this at home. I'm doing these at my own risk, but you should not be doing these. Actually, when we finish up the hive, my next project should be a better router table, because we can install these routers inside the larger work surfaces, so that would be much safer. It's not even as perpendicular as I would like it to be. This plank is a little bit cupped like this, and the upper portion is no longer flush with the root of the board, but the last half is fine, so we will use just that anyway. Okay, so let's rock. And that, my friend, what you just seen is what you don't do. Yeah, just honestly, please don't do this. It's not safe. Let me be honest, it did not feel good or safe being this close to a spinning blade that would just keep spinning and spinning and spinning. And to be honest, I almost shit my pants. Well, it did work, so I got the results what I was expecting. But I don't think I'm gonna be doing this again for a while at least, or maybe ever again, because it's just not wise. This is stupid, and that's why you should not do this. Even I should not do this. So this is a big no-no. That's the lesson in today's project. No, I'm not doing this again. Now that strips are cut down, let's glue this up together. But first, let's think. Actually, there's an important thing to consider when gluing up strips of wood into a wider board. And that's the orientation of the growth rings. Because if we glue up the strips of wood with the same orientation of the growth rings, actually these lines tend to want to get flatter and flatter over time. So this will push that way, this will push that way. And so in the end, this strip of wood will want to curve this way so that the lines would be straight. So is this one. And if you glue up these, then these angles will add up here. And what you will end up in the end is a cupped tabletop or a cupped plank. So to prevent that, you want to alternate the directions, one up, one down, one up, one down, one up. And even if they straighten out, you will still end up with a board that's fairly level and not one that's cupped this much. And it's still fine. As you can see, I added this 40-degree bevel here all along the edge, the bottom edge of the lid, and this serves the purpose of repelling any drippage from near the hive. So this is how it's supposed to work when it's raining, the drippage should stay as far from the hive as possible. Now all that's left is a little bit of sanding and we can call it a day. For sanding I'll need two types of protecting gear. One is my beloved hearing protectors and the other one is lung protection, because when sanding it's really fine dust you don't want to breathe in, so let's be careful. Well, that's why I need the lung protection. So that's it. In the next episode we are going to furnish the hive with actual beekeeping frames and also paint it to a nice beekeeping color. See you in the next episode, and if you liked what you've seen then please consider subscribing or hitting the like button, and see you in the next episode.